All right, a couple things here tonight as we close down the week. There's NCAAs going on for all sorts of sports. Wrestling is the one that I pay attention to probably the most, and it's where you get to see a 1v1 scenario where you really get to see who's at their peak when they need to be, which is phenomenal. And you don't have to be at your peak all the time, but you do need to be at your peak when it counts at the end of the year. And so, with respect to that, it's important to understand that if you want to compete in college athletics, then you need to be not at your peak, but close to your peak when you're getting viewed by these college coaches. So if you're going to go away to a tournament and you're telling coaches to come and watch you, you better make sure that you're almost at your peak when you're at these tournaments, so that when they see you, you give yourself every bit of the utmost opportunity to impress them and to get to that next level. Because if you're not at your best at these high level tournaments, you're not going to showcase what you could offer them, and you need to push it. Because if you don't, and it looks like they think that you're letting off the throttle, so to speak, or that you don't have the killer instinct or any of the other things that we've mentioned before, then you're going to miss your opportunity. They're going to take a pass. They're going to take a chance on somebody else who they think might bring a little bit more gumption or more moxie or drive to the table. And you better look like you want to be there. And that means you're going to have to fight for your spot. And that means also that when they reach out to you eventually, that your grades and all the other things that you do reflect what you're supposed to be doing. That also means that you can't sabotage yourself with what you're doing with your body. And you need to be making sure you're recovered as well as you can be. You need to be looking into your nutrition, and are you I joke about it all the time, but when I see a kid's food journal and the first thing that they have in the morning, if they have anything, is cereal, I usually get a pretty good ab workout that minute, because I'm laughing for the next 60 seconds minimum. Because if the first thing in your body is cereal, you don't take yourself seriously. Why would you think anybody else is going to take you seriously? I mean seriously, not seriously. So if the first thing in the body in the morning is sugar, that's really not a recipe for success. And then the same thing as it goes throughout the day. You've got to be getting the things that you're supposed to be in your diet, and you need to be making sure they're spaced out properly. It's kind of a joke with the shirt, got pickles. And we won't even get into that, but it's kind of a funny thing that people don't know how to take care of themselves, but yet they're happy to tell me how they're committed to being the best they can possibly be. And then I'll stand there and give them feedback, whether it's somebody who's coming into the training center, or it's somebody that bumps into me somewhere and they'll ask me a question. Hey, do you mind if I ask you a question really quick? And I'll be like, sure. And they'll be like, I've been dying to ask you this for a long time. And then they'll say, this has been on my mind for forever. And my question is, and then insert question. It doesn't matter what it is. And then I'll stand there and I'll look at them after they ask the question. And then I say, okay, so let me get this straight. What I think you're asking is, and then I'll repeat what they said back to me just to make sure that I'm clear. And then, and this is almost 100% of the time, probably 99% of the time, I'll give them my opinion on what I think answers their question. And the majority of the time, I give them this answer knowing that they really haven't done much to deserve the answer as far as I can see. And what do? They'll usually be very kind and polite, but not respectful. And here's the difference. They're kind because they'll say, oh, thank you, sir. And they're polite because then they'll say, thank you for your time. But they're not respectful. They're not respectful to me or to themselves. And here's why. If this was really a question you wanted to ask, that you're like, I finally get the chance to ask this question, and they ask me the question and I give them the answer, and then I sit there and I wait for them. And you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting, looking at my clock, my watch. I'm waiting for them to write it down. And when they don't write it down, I know at that point, they're not going to get anywhere near their potential. You know why? Because if they actually cared about the question, then they'd care about the answer. And if they were going to do something with it, they would have written it down. They would have put it into their system that they trust. Then they would check back on it later. And then they would follow up with action on what they're supposed to do with this burning question that was within inside them, that was so critical, that was going to impact them magnificently as soon as they got it. And then they got it, and then they walked away. I don't know what they're doing with it. They expect that they're going to remember this without writing it down. It's kind of funny, and I see it all the time. So just the next time that you're going to walk up to somebody, especially if it's somebody that you feel like you don't usually have much of an opportunity, or even if it's something you see all the time, if you have a question that's worth asking, that you really want to get the answer, that for whatever reason you haven't looked up on your own, because you can literally just pick up your phone at this point and Google the information, and then you can disseminate, you can come to your own understanding and filter through the different options, and you can probably come up with what the best answer is out of those choices. But if you can't do any of that, and you just have to ask somebody else to get them to tell you, if that's the situation, then when you do finally get that answer, please write it down out of respect to the actual question, out of respect to the person you're asking, and out of respect to yourself and your goals and your dreams. If they're real, take action on them. Do me a favor and don't stand in front of me and tell me you want to be a college athlete. I don't care what level. Don't stand in front of me and tell me you want to be a broadcaster. Don't stand in front of me and tell me you want to be a coach, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever else that you want to be. If you're not going to be committed to ask better questions, if you're not going to be committed to taking notes on things, how many people tell themselves that they want to be the best at a sport, but they don't even take notes after a practice, that they don't review film and see where they could improve, that they don't look out into their career in advance if they continue to get better and better and better? Who's up there that's doing it already? What are they doing? Let me study them a little bit. If you're not doing this stuff, just get honest with yourself. You don't want to be the best, not the best you can be. You're just happy with playing the game, but you're not really even playing the game, because the people who are really playing the game, they're getting into it. They're doing that stuff. They're making those improvements. That's how you get better. I'm sorry if your coach didn't teach you that you should be taking notes, but I bet you your teacher did, because your teacher in class. And let's remember what the athletic associations will tell us, that the field, the sports, wherever the game is being played, that the mat, the court, it's an extension of the classroom. If it was really an extension of the classroom, which it should be, then you'd be taking notes. You'd be studying. You'd be working on stuff. You'd be gamifying the situation, just like you do at home when you're playing your Xbox or whatever you guys are playing these days. Whatever it is, you're challenging yourself. You're getting into a flow state. You're getting in the zone, and that's how you get better at games, whether they're video games or games that are athletic games, or it's a performing arts, or it's your job. That is how you get better. Gamify the situation. Keep track of how you're doing. Keep track of those critical things that impact your performance. Get serious about your nutrition. Act like you care that your body is not getting healthier. Put stuff in your system that's going to fuel you. Stop for a second to be creative about the situation, like Sir Ken Robinson talks about, or like the people at Tesla with Elon Musk, or Peter Diamandis, or there's a million people to list. You've got to start learning more from the resources that are out there. They're all around you. You could be 10x where you are right now if you put forth this effort a year ago. You can exponentially grow to a place that you can't even imagine right now.